All right, so moving on here on the old boot. Okay, I'm kind of liking where this is going. So how about we transfer this work over here to the other side? Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to collapse my folders just to let's stretch this out, just to get it down to the just the folders, the categories for the different parts. Makes it easier to see. So if I just click on one and shift click the bottom one, control C, and then which one is the other? There it is, 1002. And I can delete my default layer and control V. Now what we're going to have to do here is take a second. So what we're going to have to do here is redefine the masks. Okay, so let's start here with the leather. And I'm going to just add a black mask on top, which is going to erase that original mask. And then I'm going to hit 4, and I want it to be at 1, so 4 turns on the polygon fill tool. So now I can just start, oh, see, this is set to single polygons, so you can just select single polygons. Or you can select the entire mesh, which is actually not what we want in this case. Or you can do it by UV chunk. So it might be a good idea to hit F1 so I can see both of these. And I want, oh, wrong one. I gotta be on UV chunk here. I want that. So I can select it in either one. I want this one. I want this guy. And I think, was that it? Let's look at the other shoe here. We want the lower section. Oh. We want this and this, and we want the lace parts here. Okay, something like that. And if I've missed anything, I can always come back. Okay, so we go to the cloth mask here, set it to black mask, so we start over. And the tool is still activated. So the cloth sections are here, 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 and here, and here, and here. I think I missed one on the other side. Yep, right there. Okay, then the toe and heel section. Just replace this black mask. And we want this and this. That was it. And then the top part, this part right here. If we go in here and replace the mask again. Or you could just do a clear mask, I guess it works as well. And then just select that part. Alright, so, oh, I missed with the cloth. And with the leather, I missed a couple parts here. So go back to cloth and select that guy. And then go back to leather and select this and this. Okay, I think we are back in business here. I'm just going to hit 1 to get out of that mode. Then I'm going to hit F2 just to show this. And this is what we have here. Now just looking, you'll see that our scratches on either side are not just identical, they're different. Which is one of the reasons that I wanted to have both shoes, because I could have just textured one and then just flip the textures over to go on the other side. Obviously the textures would have been exactly the same. So we are, even though the boots themselves are not asymmetrical, it's basically the same boot mirrored over, at least the textures are going to show some of that asymmetry. And for me, the reason that I did it this way instead of just adjusting the other boot to be slightly different geometry wise is because it's not a major part of my scene here. So we're not going to be looking real close at the boots to be able to see that they're so similar. So it is what it is, but feel free to take it further if you like. So I'm going to go back to 2001 here. Okay, so I did not have any paint layers or anything on. Actually, no, I got to go into here. Let's go into the leather. So we do have little things that we can do here. We have our leather here. if I wanted to, so we got the two different levels of leather. So if I click on this one, and I have my paint mask here, which at this point is not valid anymore because I was painting based on those UVs. So because it copied over, I'm going to just delete it and I'm going to make a new one. So click here, add paint. And then what I can do is just go through and do the same kind of thing that I did on the other side, is get a brush. So go down to brushes and let's use dirt 1 this time. So this one's slightly different. Let's test it out. So that's what it does. I'm going to shrink up. Get my channel. There we go. I'm going to shrink this down just a hair. I'm going to set my flow down a little bit, maybe my opacity down a little bit. Let's see what we get. So it's a lot slower to take away some of this detail here. Okay, so I don't want to just decimate detail too quickly. If I want to add more, I could just go over the same spot multiple times and it starts to wear that down. Okay, I'm going to hit X to add. And when I'm adding back, I probably want a little bit stronger flow so we're not too. And let's make this smaller. I'm going to increase the flow and the opacity, so it's really going to start to put back some of that. I just want to break this up. It seems way too even. Maybe a little something in here. Okay. You want to go in and adjust your wear just a bit, just so that it doesn't feel too procedural. So let's bring back some of this in here. All right, you don't want the wear to be perfectly even all the way around. You need to put some back just to break up this edge so it's not so perfect. All right, you just want to wear parts of it away, not just the whole thing. And down here especially, this doesn't look good to me. I might have to go back on the other shoe as well and adjust a little bit some of these. But for now, we'll do this one. Okay, so something like that. Okay, maybe bring back a little bit here. You know, it's very easy to overdo things. So you want to go in there and just keep a handle on it so it's not too much. And these brushes work really well. I never use just a basic round soft brush because I get so much detail out of the dirt brushes. They seem to be my go-to. Okay, let's go in here. Let's bring back some of this. And I probably want to leave it worn down around where that lace is. So if I do this, just leave some of that in there, just as if the lace is wearing down that leather being pulled tight. So we can do the same over here. You kind of have to think about why the wear is the way that it is. What's causing it, right? And that'll help you make much more interesting textures. So this, I'm used to ZBrush navigation I'm using my tablet right now, and I'm used to the navigation in ZBrush, which is really bad navigation, but it's what I'm used to. So it can take a little bit to get used to using Maya style navigation with a pen, especially if you're coming out of ZBrush. So you'll have to excuse me sometimes. Things might get a little weird, but should be all right. Okay, so I'm just sort of beating this down a little bit so it's not so intense. Okay, so let's bring back some of this stuff. Okay, try to just be somewhat random with it. Okay. Okay, leave some in, but maybe tone some of it down a little bit. There we go. Just like that. Okay. So, you could spend as much time as you need to get that exactly how you want. I need to fix this here. This just does not look very good to me here. So that was toe and heel. So let's open up toe and heel and look at our one leather. There's a paint layer here, which is not doing it much anymore because it was painted on different UVs. So let's just add a new paint layer, delete the old one. And again, we can start to put back some of this stuff here. That edge just did not look right. So let's do that. Okay. And if you want, in the brush settings, let's make this a little shorter. In the brush settings, get the angle jitter turned on all the way. So the brush is going to paint at different sort of orientations, which is good because that way you're not going to start to see the patterning of the brush. So let's just bring back some of this good stuff in here. And we can hit X if you want to maybe erase parts in here. Scuff it up a little bit. And I hit X again. So X is really nice. Just goes back and forth between adding and removing. So I think I'm going to just bring it all back here. I really like this dark sort of tan, like almost like it was polished leather that's wearing away. I do like that a lot. So again, just gonna scuff up some stuff. You don't know what this shoe's been through. So speed it up a little bit. Let's go to the front and see what we have. See that edge just does not look good to me. So I'm gonna just let's X to put back some. And I don't want to put it all back. I just want to, something like that. Okay, you don't want it to be exactly the same amount of wear all the way around this toe piece. You want to, especially over here, this just does not look good. So let's fill in down here a little bit. So there we go. Okay. And over here. All right. So that's looking pretty good. Okay, coming back to this other one here, so I'm going to go back here. And let's go to leather, open up leather, and let's look at this guy here. Get in the paint layer, and let's see. And come over here, we're at 0. So let's go to 1. Okay. So flip that back to 0. And let's start to paint back in here. Oh, what I need to do actually is, so paint, let's go X. So this will wear it away a little bit more if we need that. And if we wanted to put it back, we could just paint that down there. Go in there. Doesn't seem to be painting very well here. Let's what am I missing here? Okay, so we got that. Let's turn this. Okay, so that's because my which is something I forgot to do this side. My paint layer has its opacity set pretty low. We need the leather. So here. So we can drop this down and mess with the opacity setting here on it, something like that. There we go. So that is looking pretty good to me. I'm going to save quick. And yep, takes a while. 4K UDIMs. Expensive. Okay, I'm going to hit the iRay renderer. Let's see what we got going on here. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. I like where this is going. I like where this is going here. And some of that dirtiness is in there. What we need to check on the other side is our dirt pass, that dirt layer that we did. So let's see if that is sitting correctly. So I'm going to close my leather and actually no, let me open the leather. Did I put the dirt on the leather? There it is. I should just call this dirt just to be clear. Oops. So let's turn this on and off and see. Okay, so it's in there, and it's in all the crevices like it should be. And they should have it in the cloth as well, so let's open up cloth. And this is it here. We'll call this dirt. And yep, it's in there, so looks like we're good. Okay, so we have some nice looking boots. Let's think about, again, I'm going to save, and then I'm going to open Photoshop here. Just going to open a new window here. And what I'm going to look for is a stitch alpha. So if you look up Stitch Alpha, you got different things. You can go on Gumroad and whatnot, or Zebra Central, and get different ones. This one's pretty good. That'll probably do just fine. So, you know, or you can have like something like this. It's entirely up to you how you want to do that. What I need is a double stitch because the shoe has double stitching all around it. So, you know, something like that. I do like this. Oh, wrong one. I do like this one here because it does affect the surface around it. We got this dark section here, which signifies the hole that the stitch goes into. Same with this one. You can see that the surface around this stitch gets raised up, which is kind of nice. So you can experiment with different ones that you like and see what you can get. I already have one, so I'm just gonna use that. Let me open it here real quick. All right, so where did I put that? There we go. Okay, so this is the one I have here. I honestly do not remember where I got it, but you can see it is pretty similar. It's almost exactly the same as this one, except it doesn't have the diagonal lines on it. So that's just an extra piece of detail. Do you need it? Probably not. So use whatever. But what I need is to make it a double stitch. So for me, just the easy way to do that is to take go to image, go to canvas size, and I'm going to anchor to the left, and I'm going to just go to percent, set it to 200 in width, and do that. So now it's twice as big. I'm going to probably crop that down again later. So I'm just going to double click background, hit enter, and you know, I think it's partially white here, so just select that, delete that. So I'm just going to duplicate this layer, just drag it onto the plus sign here, and then just move it over. Now we got to be careful. We don't want these stitches to be too far apart, so you know, maybe something like this. And if I select part of this and delete it, now obviously I gotta merge these a little bit better here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take my tablet pen here, and I'm gonna go into the eraser, right click, set the hardness to 0, and I'm just going to, with a very soft eraser brush, I'm just going to just beat this down here a little bit, right, so that we have a better transition. And if I want to, I can also just nudge this over with my arrow keys so that the stitches are a little bit closer. Okay. Where's my eraser brush? This is, so I'm using a Huion tablet. It does not have the eraser on the back of the pen, but I do have a Wacom. But again, I find that I use my so not a Wacom, well, it is a Wacom, but it's a Cintiq, the screen that you can draw on. I find that I'm using that less and less just because it's a 1080p screen, and my main monitor is a 1440. It's not a 4K, but it's a 1440, and I appreciate that resolution better than just the 1080 resolution on the Cintiq. So it's kind of sad. So actually, I don't need to do that on this side. So you know, you can be as neat and tidy with that as you want. I'm gonna go with it like this. Thing that we have to remember though is the image has to be a perfect square. So I'm gonna get my marquee tool here, and I'm gonna set my style to fixed ratio. And a ratio of 1:1 will maintain a square. So I'm going to use a guide to just give me my starting point, and I'm going to try there. So, you know, I might have to enlarge my overall, but let's see. If I just shift this over, it's going to cut off a little bit. So what I'm going to do then is just go to image and go to canvas size again, and I'm going to leave it centered, and I'm going to increase the height. So let's go to 500 just to see what that gives us. Okay, so now we have that. So if we keep everything square, we're gonna have this. So let's see if that. Let me see if I like that. I'm gonna use my arrow keys, just nudge it around. I want it to be even on both sides. And image. I want to crop this down here, and then obviously you need to fill the back here with black. So make a new layer, move it down, and get my paint bucket. I'm not a Photoshop guy, unfortunately, so I don't know the shortcuts, you know, whatever. So just fill the bottom layer with black, and I'm going to get rid of my guide here. And I think that should be good. You can select both of these and shift them over if I feel like they are. I got to activate this tool and shift them over if I feel like they need to. Okay, so that's more or less centered, I guess. That's our image size here. It's probably a weird image size, 471. That's just because I have OCD like that. I'm gonna make it 470 and call it. Actually, no, shouldn't have done that. All right, I'm just gonna leave it as is. OCD be damned. And I'm just gonna save this out, and I'm gonna save it out as a TIFF because that image is probably already compressed, and I don't want to add more compression to it. So let's see. So make it a TIFF. Sorry, I'm doing this on the other screen here real quick. And we're just going to call this one double stitch. Okay, so no image compression, and I'm discarding the layers. You don't want any of the layers to be in there. Just no compression and no layers. And I just leave everything else. Okay, so now that's there. What I need, the easy way to bring this in, where is it? Where's my ZBrush alphas? Oops. Let's try that again. Let's move this over, and where'd you go? So there it is right there. That's my double stitch. So if I just drag that in here, and I'm going to use it as an alpha. Okay, so I'm going to put that as an alpha. I'm just going to import it to my Boots project. Now I have to remember the way that I did this. So the stitch layer is going to be above. So if we're looking in, so let me just close these down here. It can get a little confusing. So we're working in the leather. So I'm going to open up leather. And I want my stitches to be above my worn leather, but below my dirt, because the dirt sort of lands on top of everything. So I'm going to put a new fill layer, and I'm just going to drag it down to where it should be. And I'm going to call this stitching. Okay, hope I spelled that right. And so it's going to take me a second here to remember. So I have my double stitch right here. And you'll see that I have a lot of custom things. If you're in Substance and you don't have, like, I think these might be ones that I put in the recycle. So you can always add your own alphas into your projects, which is good. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the color for the stitching. Right, so where am I? Why am I in cloth? Okay, somewhere I messed this up. I'm just going to Control X to remove that. I want to start in the other shoe, so I'm going to do this one up front here. So let's close all these down, and then we're in leather, and I'm going to select this and just hit Control V, and it's going to put the stitching over top. Now, it's going to overwrite the texture beneath it, which is fine. The easy way to deal with that right now is just to put a black mask on it, and it's going to go away. Okay, and actually before I do that, let's pick the color for the stitching. So I probably want it pretty close to the worn leather color. Okay, so and we can maybe desaturate it a little bit, make it a little bit lighter, something close. Okay, and then I'm going to put a black mask, which is going to get rid of that. Okay, so alpha. As part of the mask, I have the mask selected, and there's an alpha setting. That's why I'm just going to drag this alpha into there. Okay, so let's test it. And okay, so what you saw there is a whole bunch of sort of jittering going on. So to get rid of the jittering, we just need to come up here, and we want no size jitter, no flow jitter, no angle jitter, no position jitter. Let's look at it again. Now it's there, but it's not spacing them out like we want, so we can increase our spacing. You can sort of see the preview here. Okay, so now we're starting to get something. But you can see it's not following the direction of my stroke. They're just staying vertical. So if we turn on follow path, you can see now they'll follow. The problem now is, of course, that there's no height map information. They're not punching outward. So they feel like they're painted on. They're not actually there. So for that, we come back into the fill layer itself. And for this, we need color and height. Don't need any metal. And we need to set our height. So if I set this to 0.1 and then go back to my mask here and paint, you can see now it looks like it's actually coming out of the surface. Okay, so the next thing we got to play with is the actual size. So Control right mouse, drag to the left. So we have, you have to figure out how big you want those stitches to be. And then obviously for the size, you want them to be pretty close to each other. So again, this is going to take some trial and error doing here. So that's not bad. And yeah, there we go. It's not bad at all. Now, what you'll notice is that this is very sensitive, and I can get really just not very clean strokes. So if you come up here, this is your lazy mouse. Turn that on. I have it at a distance of 8, so it won't draw until it's gone past that circle. So you'll see you can have see how much smoother that line is. Okay, so lazy mouse is really nice for that. So I think this will be easier with my pen here. So let's do I have to take off. I have a wrist brace, trying to avoid carpal tunnel from being on a mouse all the time. So that what you just heard was me pulling that off. All right, now my tablet is wrong pen. Okay, so let's just do some tests right here, see what that looks like. Okay, this is going to take a bit of a steady hand, and you'll find that you might have to do stuff over and over again. So that obviously wasn't great. And you can stop and then start and just try to get them to match up. Okay, so that's what we're getting here with our stitching. If you want them to be taller, just increase your height information right here. So 0.2 might be too much. And I'm gonna go back here, and yeah, I think that's might be a little strong. Let's go 0.15. Oh, did I hit my spacing? Yep. I think I messed up my spacing. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so going back here, let's go 0.15. And then there's you could turn off roughness if you don't feel like you need it. If you want the stitches to be a little shinier than the rest of the shoe, you could do that. I don't know if that really adds anything. I might actually make them less shiny. So put them there. Oh, need to turn off metallic. I think that got undone. And then you can play with the base color to, see what we have here. If that's a little too, if you want it darker, maybe you want darker stitching, you could always turn this down a little bit. And then come back here and, oh, wrong one. There we go. And stitch. I actually kind of like it where they pop a little bit. So I'm going to just bring up the value again here. Let's go back to our stitching. Yeah, I kind of like that. Kind of like that. Okay, so the other thing you might want to think about, if I hit F4, it's going to switch to the UV view. So it might be easier to just do the stitching here, right? So now this is way too big, so I'm going to just drop my distance down to something smaller. Let's see what we got. Yeah, this is always hard for me because I do not have that steady of a hand. Drawing is not really my thing. So, see there go off again. So, good Lord. Okay. Let's try this again. Gonna go this way. Now I'm way too tight on the edge there. For those of you that are 2D artists, and this will probably be easier for you if you have drawing skills. Oh my goodness. This might be easier now that I think about it. It might be easier to use the Cintiq. So I will pause here for a second while I get it in position, and then we can go from there. All right, so I'm going to save here first, and then I will be back on the old Cintiq.